Well, hello to all my friends in Uruguay, and I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you a little bit about what's going on at the American Hereford Association, and especially in this area of sustainability and the projects that we've had that are ongoing, some in the past, and how we can accumulate all this information and make it useful as we move forward. So I'm going to share a few slides with you today about what's going on, tell you a little bit about some of the projects that we do have going on, and perhaps even talk about a little bit of some collaboration with the work that you're doing in Uruguay. I wanted to share with you a little bit in this presentation about our thoughts in terms of what sustainability means and where we're headed. And there's many definitions for sustainability, and it's really a controversial statement, if you will, across the world and where we need to be as cattle producers. But we kind of look at it as meeting the needs of society and without compromising the ability for our future generations to succeed in their businesses. And so we think that's one way to look at it. That's a very general and broad view of our definition of sustainability. Obviously, there's three pillars or components to it. That's the economic component, the social component, and the environmental component. And I think we can play a key role in each one of these pillars as we move forward. We continue to be asked to do more with less. And from now till 2050, we're going to add a huge amount to our world population. And it's interesting, it's very difficult to put your arms around this because where is this protein and food going to be coming from in the future? Because the good Lord is making no more land, and obviously there's a bit of struggle for some of the other components to what we need here, including water. And so we're going to continue to be asked to do more with less. And where does Hereford fit in this arena as we move forward? So I want to talk to you a little bit about where we've been, and I know many of you know what we've done at the American Hereford Association, but just a very quick recap, because I think some of the work that we've done in the past, I know, will be very, very beneficial as we move forward in this area of sustainability. And it can start clear back in the early 2000s when the American Hereford Association moved towards a whole herd reporting genetic evaluation. Over the course of time, we've moved from 2 evaluations to a weekly evaluation that does take into account pedigree, phenotypic information, as well as since 2012, we've been adding genomics to this evaluation. And certainly the power of these evaluations and our ability to make these computations very quickly has really made this opportunity for genetic improvement very, very dynamic. In the early 2000s, when I first came to Hereford, it took us almost a month to prepare the data for genetic evaluation. Now we turn them over weekly, and that is due to the computing power, the software power, and so that has revolutionized our association and the cattle industry and seed stock industry without doubt. Obviously, since the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, we've been very involved ongoing ever since. Our first young sire test program was with Olson Ranches in western Nebraska, and as many of you know, the start of that program was because of some of the work that we did in the area of tenderness studies with NCBA. And also, as we move forward with this look at a global evaluation and what we did with work at identifying and using genetics from across the world, and that was kind of the roadmap of how we got to where we are today with PACE, the evaluation that we use across continents, both Argentina and your folks in Uruguay, and as well as Canadian and AHA data. So they've been with us a long time. Now, obviously, we collect data at Simplot Ranch. Simplot runs about 30,000 cows across multiple states in the Northwest. It's been an interesting program as they approached us a number of years ago about getting involved in it. And we collect this data, use it in the evaluation. And in that ranch alone, we've moved the Hereford bull battery from somewhere around 10% to over 33% of the bulls today used at Simplot Ranch are Hereford bulls. So it's been a great project, and we continue to collect data from birth to harvest, and all that data is used in our genetic evaluation. Over the years, we've also gotten involved in a variety of programs that have created some research opportunities for the American Hereford Association, including a project at Circle A Ranch here in Missouri, where we used Hereford bulls in comparison to Angus bulls on a set of predominantly black-hided cows. We collected the data again from birth to harvest. We used that in the evaluation, and we handed that data over to an economist at the University of Missouri, where he was able to evaluate the overall value of some crossbreeding and utilizing Hereford genetics in that program. And what Vern Pierce, the economist at Missouri, found is that due to longevity, fertility, along with efficiency and other data collected in that program, a Hereford advantage would be somewhere around $50 to $55 per year on that Hereford sired calf, whether it be steer or female in that program. And so if you take that over the course of a lifetime of a cow, it adds up very, very significantly. We did a similar project with Harris Ranch in California. Dr. Dave Daly from Chico State was the driving force behind collecting the data and analyzing the data. We had very similar results there in terms of feedlot performance, as well as pregnancy and longevity in the females. More recently, we did a program or worked with Oklahoma State to look at the value of heterosis on the female side. Because what we found that using and injecting Hereford sires into a predominantly black cow herd producing those F1 females, those F1 females ate less feed, they maintained a better body composition score, and weaned off heavier calves. And so all of that data from a maternal standpoint was very useful to us. We've done a lot of work in terms of promoting that F1 female, and certainly it was a very instrumental part of where we are and what we're doing today. From Oklahoma State, we turned our attention to a project at the University of Illinois that was basically just the continuation of what was happening at Oklahoma State. We're in a 3-year project with them, and again, we're going to be measuring efficiency in the cow herd side, and along with that female side, we're going to feed the steers and get the individual feed intake data on them. The meat animal research data is certainly very interesting, and I think puts a good thumb on some of the advantage that Hereford have that we knew that they had, that's now being documented, and that's our advantage in efficiency, or in dry matter intake, feed conversion. So this is comparing all breeds, and on this slide you see the main breeds that are part of the U.S. Cattle population here, and where we fit, and what a huge advantage Hereford does have in the area of dry matter intake. So if you take the data that you see from the Meat Animal Research Center, we did a little bit of computation. We reached out to some economists, one in particular at the University, or Purdue University, to take a look at some of the savings, not only in cost, but just in natural resources that you would have by implementing some Hereford genetics within your program. So last year we harvested over 165,000 head of cattle through the Certified Hereford Beef program, and so we just took that number of cattle and just kind of took some numbers and ran with it. So that would mean that Herefords on the average on those 165,000 would eat 191,000 pounds less corn per steer over their feeding period because of the efficiency advantage based off of the information we got from the Meat Animal Research Center. And given that it takes about 54 gallons of water to grow 1 pound of corn, those cattle that were through our program required over 1.7 billion gallons less water to get to harvest. And again, so if you add the amount of feed that you saved, the amount of water that you saved to grow that feed, that's a very, very substantial number that you can put your arms around when utilizing Hereford genetics. So the next project that we have in place, and the one that I know that you folks are working on a very similar type of project at Kiyú at your bull test there in Uruguay is a project that we have with the team at Colorado State. And the goals of this project will be to measure methane and nitrogen through both green feed systems as well as the nitrogen through blood. Here at the HA, we will be sponsoring a graduate student to help collect and analyze the data. We will be partnering directly with the Ag Next team and the genetics team there at Colorado State University. And what we're trying to gain here is to understand how genetic selection, coupled with the value of heterosis, can be used to quantify the overall impact of Hereford genetics and what that might be in the area of sustainability. And this is an interesting concept, and I think we need to step back because this project is just kind of ongoing with the research that we've already had in place. Because I feel as we begin to model this moving forward, that F1 crossbred female with her advantages from a maternal standpoint in terms of fertility, her ability to last longer within the herd, our advantages that we've documented in the area of feed intake, along with this advantage that we will have in methane as well as nitrogen. Couple all of these things together will allow us to position ourselves very, very nicely in this area of sustainability and give us an opportunity to send a message. And we feel like that Hereford is a real leader in this. We're excited that you folks in Uruguay are doing a very similar project and that we can utilize the data as we move forward. And so if we think about where this fits into those pillars, economically, it provides over time the ability for commercial producers to stay viable because of advantages of using Hereford genetics in the area of efficiency as well as fertility and longevity. And then we move to the feedlot component where these cattle are going to eat less, have less impact on the environments. And then from a social standpoint, we can sell that message to our consumers. And you know, I think it's an interesting question when we think about what is important from the social part of this, because I believe social and environment both, as we hear and we understand, it's not always just the buying consumer that's concerned about this, but it's the pressure that the lending and financial world is putting on businesses moving forward to really focus on the environment and certainly the social aspect of sustainability. So the beef cattle industry needs to have a license to continue to work forward in this area. And we feel that Hereford will play a big component in this area because of the advantages that we kind of reviewed here over the last few minutes. So we're excited to be a part of this. I think it's dynamic, I think it's forward thinking, and I believe it'll give an advantage to the breed across the world as we move forward and try to create some opportunity for Hereford. So again, I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your genetic program here today. I would be very open to answering any questions that you might have, sharing a little more detailed information, if you will, that we have and what we're doing with CSU in this project. And again, it's great to have the partnership with the American Hereford Association, and thank you very much.